What's up, guys? I just picked up this liftgate for a very large flatbed truck, I think semi-truck size. Don't know much about it. I saw it for 50 bucks and I jumped on it, went to pick it up. The guy said his skid steer is capable of a 900-pound lift, which is a pretty small skid steer, and he said he tried to pick it up with it and it would not lift it, so he thinks it weighs over 1,000 pounds. Came off of an old Pepsi truck. It is all steel, very thick plate steel bed, and it had the diamond plate floor, obviously. So as soon as I saw it, I figured even if the hydraulics don't work, you got 50 bucks in materials right there alone. I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet. It still has all of the hydraulic components, which if you're not familiar with these, they'll be stored down in, this is all hollow. You can see you got wires and stuff going in there. This is where all your hydraulic stuff is. So there's normally one electric over hydraulic pump inside here, and there's either one or two hydraulic cylinders on either end. And so they'll use a cylinder that goes up and down, and there's usually a system of pulleys and cable that'll raise and lower the dump bed. I haven't pulled this thing apart yet. It is very heavy. I'm gonna take it off and decide what to do with it. Most likely use is that it's going to end up being used for the steel, maybe build some diamond plate fenders for the dump trailer, keep some of the other steel for other projects, and we'll see what the hydraulics look like. We may be able to use them. This is my tilt trailer setup. It is a gravity tilt, and I may be able to pull, usually those electric over hydraulic tilt beds have a very small cylinder, something like a 16-inch stroke. So I may be able to stick that here on the tongue and turn this gravity tilt trailer into an electric tilt trailer. And the main reason I would like to do that is because then I could put an electric winch on the front and not have to worry about it throwing off my weight distribution for the tilt feature.
Daddy, Arian.
All right, so I got this thing folded open, hanging from the gantry crane. This is an Eagle lift. The model number and info is completely gone. This end would have been the end welded. This was actually a section of the truck bed right here. And this was cut off the back of the truck. The seller said they were going to turn the truck into a dump truck, so they stripped this stuff off of it. So it was a stake pocket, stake bed truck. These are the old stake pockets. He said it was off a Pepsi truck. I don't know what that is stuck down in there. Anyway. So the way these work, this is the actual lift gate. You would roll your merchandise out on this, and then these arms lever up and down. You can see I have a cable that pulls them up and down. And then the components that allow that movement are down. This is just a sheet metal cover. So usually they're bolted in, but this one's missing the bolts. So we just tie it up, and really loud sounds happen. And then you'll see we have a hydraulic power unit here, a hydraulic pump. If you want more information on how those work, I just sent a video on my channel about that. And that hydraulic line runs over. And for this, for this particular lift gate, we've got a single hydraulic cylinder. The way these work is this hydraulic cylinder has a block or a pulley, some people call them, on the end. And that block goes to these cables. These cables are solidly secured right here. So when this cylinder would extend, it would push that ram, push that pulley out, and that would stretch these cables. So these cables are then routed from the pulley. You can see one stretches all the way across, and there's another pulley right here, and that routes the wire up these vertical uprights, and then across there'll be another pulley inside here. And you can see there's your other pulley right down in there. So as that pulls that taut, it would pull these cables, that would pull these up, and then these bars keep everything steady side to side. This particular lift gate is actuated by this lever. So if you watch my other video on how the hydraulic pumps operate, this one here uses a manual solenoid. You can see that it's actually rotating the contact down here. All right, so after checking out this wiring, this is actually an interesting setup. The other solenoid that I had that was actuated by push-pull actually operated the high current, or the high amperage, directly to and from the motor. This setup has a low amperage switch that is switching this solenoid. So even though it goes through this manual lever, the manual lever is still low amperage, and that's why we have these small 18 gauge leads that are controlling this solenoid, and the solenoid is ultimately controlling your high current, which comes in through this looks like 2 gauge power wire. So let me set the camera up on the tripod, and we'll try putting power to it and see what happens. All right, so the first thing I want to check is whether or not the motor operates at all. We need a solid spot to ground this to, and I can't really get on the motor body. It should be grounded to this. We'll see if that'll work for us. That's not. That's your power terminal directly to the motor. So we should be getting some reaction to that. We are not. Okay, let's put the negative up here. We're getting sparks. Yeah, we're getting sparks, so I feel like the connection's good, but we're not getting any reaction. All right, so just messing around with this thing, I did figure something sort of interesting out. If we go up with our hoist, start turning, push down on this lever. There we go. It's actually working. And then it's releasing the liftgate, as you can tell. I don't actually know how high the truck is it's supposed to work with, but it's up at least that high. So whatever it has, it's letting that cylinder go down. Is working. There we go. The beeper works. So the solenoid does work, and the annoying beeper works. Alright guys, I'm not going to bother you with a post-mortem on this one since we just did one on the other, but suffice to say, it definitely ain't working. What do you think, Charlie? You ready to start on the dump trailer? Come here. Hi, Bear. But I brought this good pump over. If you watch my hydraulic pump video, this is the one that was off of a pop-up camper, and I checked the fittings off of that other pump, and they fit it perfectly, which I'm guessing that's like a standard thing. So that means this line, which is about 6 feet, is going to fit, and I won't need to get a line made. I don't know about the other end, if that's going to fit my cylinder or not, but I figured since everything's hooked up to this cylinder, we could go ahead and check this pump by threading these connectors in, putting that line on, topping it off with a little fluid and seeing if it works. So at least we know that this pump unit that I anticipate using on the dump trailer and this cylinder that we might use for some project in the future both work. And actually with this new pump on here, this liftgate would work, although I don't really have any application for it right now. And I do have applications. I could use the steel and the hydraulic line and everything else. So like I mentioned earlier, I gave 50 bucks for this entire thing, and the fitting alone, this fitting at Napa is $16 each, so it's 32 bucks. And then to get the hose made, it's whatever it is, eight bucks a foot or something like that, I think they said. So to get a 6-foot hose made, which is what I measured for, and the lines, easily exceeds the purchase price of this liftgate. So just the line and the fitting alone have paid for themselves. And then I'm going to be able to reuse some of the steel for fenders for the dump trailer, and who knows what else. So definitely a good buy. I hate turning my house into a junkyard sometimes, but when you see stuff like this for 50 bucks, it's just too good to pass up on. The guy had it in his yard behind his business and just needed to clear up the space. So, all right, well, I'm going to let that end this video, and hopefully in the next couple days we'll get back to work on the dump truck. It's definitely hard with both kids home because of the coronavirus. Stay safe, everybody.